Let me know when you're ready. All right, you're all here? Everybody's here? It's good to be here. I will call this meeting of the Jamestown City Council work session for Monday, May 12th to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Sheldon?
Here.
Brackman? Here. Paternity?
Here.
Reynolds?
Present.
Faulkner? Bonfiglio? Diversa?
Here.
Russell?
Here.
And President Holmes.
Here, thank you. At this time, I'll give opportunities for the public to speak. If you'd like to address the council, please leave your name and address and limit your remarks to 5 minutes. Anybody want to speak tonight? No?
Just thank you.
Just
Okay,
attempt.
I'll just reiterate what I said earlier in the public safety meeting. I'm Andrea Hatfield, I live at 72 Cedar Street here in Jamestown. It's a little dead-end street off of Hotchkiss Street, fairly close to where Hotchkiss curves into Marvin Parkway. And the Roger Troy Peterson Institute's my backyard. And we have, quite often with warm weather, we're like, oh, we're gonna have some car break-ins again. It's not anything new or unusual, but this year we have seen a drastic upswing in activity, stranger people, like a gentleman who claimed to be homeless, going down Hotchkiss Street, sitting on people's porches, trying to get into their garages. People coming down Marvin Parkway, some woman, and I think it was Easter weekend, it was fairly nice weather, with her hair done up in a fairly clingy beige flesh tone dress down to here, suede boots up to here, walking downtowner at Arlington. So I don't think it was a local. And then, not this Sunday, but last Sunday, a young man was coming up through my backyard, which is highly unusual, because he had to come through rose brambles, poison ivy, and skunk cabbage. And he was coming up through the Roger Troy Peterson Institute, and why you would leave a trail if you're lost is what he told me. It seemed kind of, and go uphill, seemed kind of unusual to me. And when I asked him where he was trying to get to, he said Lakeview Cemetery, and I said, well, you don't live there, where are you trying to get to in town? Well, I'm over by Liberty Street. He wasn't really doing anything illegal, but it was just the rapid sequence of unusual things. I know my neighbors have a Facebook page called Hotchkiss Street Green Acres. It's a group that you have to be invited. It's on Facebook. And so they're catching a lot of these people on camera. I actually have a picture of the homeless guy on my phone. I didn't think to take a picture of the young man that came up through my backyard. It's just something worth noting, especially with proximity to college, which I think that college will be done soon for graduation. But it's kind of a convenient shortcut from 2nd Street and even from Faulkner to get up to the motel, where apparently they're housing homeless people and have been for a while. And I understand they need a place to stay, but it's starting to impact the neighborhood, and I'm not sure it benefits them to be way out there on the edge of town. We're not even a grocery store really, we're far away from services. And as I said earlier, grouping a number of people together who are homeless because of substance abuse issues in a motel next to an expressway doesn't seem like a great way to help them. They may not need help, but it's just like, it seems like it'd be very convenient for the drug dealer. It might become a hot spot for drug activity, which may not be great for the city with tourists that would be coming in for like Babe Ruth or for various other events to stay out there and encounter this type of stuff. But it's just different and more intense than in past years up by Hotchkiss Street. And you may have seen things, you don't live too far from there. I know quite often they see people go down to Rand, you guys usually get hit pretty hard in the car break-ins. But
We talked last
yeah, it's just been a little different, more intense this year so far. So
Thank you. Can you address that in the chief, probably? take note.
Well, thank you very
Keep an
much.
eye on things, and if you see, I mean, we have those neighborhood, like the Hotchkiss, we have the North Side neighborhood. So people are kind of keeping an eye out for things, that, you know, if they see something that is a little out of the ordinary, just so people can take a look at.
I mentioned the chat group that you guys have over there, maybe she wants to join that.
Yeah,
Told her to reach out and talk to you.
yeah, like the whole, and it's kind of a combination of mostly Ward Two, but some of the Ward One area down by the college, there's a lot of people. So, and they kind of keep an eye on packages and people on porches, and just to, you know, 99% of the time, it's nothing bad, but
Right.
just so that people know that, you know, there's people watching and looking out for each other, so.
Yeah, the guy that went down Hotchkiss Street, I didn't see it, but I got to hear all about it, that, you know, there were a lot of retirees there, and people were like on it.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, it's too bad, these people need help,
Right.
and I don't know if where they are, it helps them. But what else, you know, what else you gonna do? That's why I thought maybe in the meeting I would learn more about the progress of Gateway or some other housing options that might be more appropriate than motel on Lion Express.
Unfortunately, that's a county thing because it's outside of our jurisdiction, but.
Which maybe I should ask them, you know, there's apparently a school-age child that's staying out, or living out there with her parent. And my understanding is the child is not only there this school year, but was there part of last school year too. I would think that having a school-age child stay at a hotel in that type of situation should be a little more short-term than that.
Thank you. All right, we'll keep an eye on it. Is anyone else? Did you guys hear?
Yeah, just Nick White here with the Jamestown Farmers Market for our permit review. Happy to answer any questions when we get to that.
Thank you. No? All right, move on. Billy, wanna update us on housing?
Sure, thank you, Mr. President. We really didn't have anybody from the public, other than two councilmen sat in on our discussions, which is great to have input from them. Crystal brought up the changes that are gonna be voted on next week for the home and the CDBG funds, and that there's a probability of us losing some of that money. CDBG funds annually have been about 1.2 to 1.3 million, and the home funds have been around $300,000 to $400,000 a year. It is the amount of money that most of her department relies on for functioning in many ways. They've been in touch with the folks in the Buffalo office and HUD representatives. It's certainly detrimental to the city, and we're hopeful that with legislation forthcoming, that we might be able to convince our federal representatives to reintroduce that funding. The program year is different than the calendar year, so there's some 2025 funding that will be coming later in the year. 80% of the workforce nationwide, I believe, is being let go from HUD. For our region, what they call the upstate region, there's generally around 200 people that work the entire upstate region, is being reduced to 6 employees. And you can imagine what the timetable on any applications or requests or grants will happen, and be delayed months, if not years, sad to say. Councilman Paterniti asked about the Gateway project. We were briefed that Crystal's in communication with those folks, and that certain aspects of that project are continuing. He asked about the Beer Snob building being renovated with a new owner, and that was good news to see, or to hear, I should say. And sometime before next week, or maybe sooner, either the administration or Crystal's office will provide some boilerplate letters for individual council people or residents of the city who are aware of the loss of these funds, having such a detriment to, our housing, here in the city. Councilman, Dose had a few problem areas in his ward, Crystal was, gonna take a look at, and Councilman Perrine brought up, some other, techniques or construction processes for tiny homes, tiny houses that might be applicable at some point in time in the future with, certain variances being needed. And Crystal went into great detail, and I believe most of the stuff that you talked about is in this little folder packet about the developers forum that took place, last week, and, well over 100 people, and a variety of attendees, from bankers to architects to developers to construction. Just, very well done and operated out of Wicked Warren's, restaurant on Third and Wash. The walking tours, the trolley ride, and checking out the neighborhoods was very favorable, for, many of the attendees. And that was about it. Crystal, anything you wanna add specifically?
One clarification, 80, not 80%, 84% of HUD's staffing nationwide is being, let go. And just a reminder, like tiny home it's not, they're not necessarily tiny homes. Smaller footprint homes, just the term tiny, I think we keep getting stuck in that. So let's just,
Substandard square footage from.
I would say
I wouldn't say
substandard,
substandard.
just
From what the
smaller,
code calls it.
smaller
Little houses.
square foot houses than I think the typical 2,000 square foot homes that we're used to seeing. We're talking just more smaller square foot
It's a little small.
footage, not the tiny, because the
Smaller-
tiny is actually defined.
Smaller footprint.
Yeah.
What I just said.
The tiny home is actually defined by the building code to be a very specific square footage maximum, so, and it's like
800.
400 or 400,
No,
it's
it's like
very,
more.
very, very small, so I just wanna make sure that that's a little bit clarified.
Shed
Thank you
size.
very much
Yeah.
for noting that.
That's it, good job.
What about the documents you?
Yeah, so I shared with you, as I mentioned in the housing committee meeting, the materials that we shared at the developer forum. So it's a number of properties that are already currently listed. And that can change on a daily basis, so, even this document here that I handed to the council people, it may already be updated, just depending on if something is sold or not, but I guess the more important one is this packet, and the properties that we highlighted specifically during the developer forum that we talked about, and that we got to actually tour a number of them, so, and then additionally, I passed out to everyone, we have 2 events coming up on Saturday. We have our annual Hands-on Jamestown neighborhood cleanup event. If you have not yet registered, please do so. You can also register the day of the event, but we cannot guarantee there will be free t-shirts for you if you don't register ahead of time. 8 a.m. on Tracy Plaza, 8 to noon. And then the second event is with our comprehensive plan. We have our neighborhood walking tour, so we are focusing on the south side. We kind of rolled it into the same day, just trying to, for lack of a better phrase, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So we'll do a neighborhood cleanup as part of the walking tour. We'll be meeting at the Tops Plaza on Foot Avenue, but this will start at 10 a.m. So this goes from 10 to 12:30, same day, Saturday, the 17th. So, and this one, you can RSVP, the information to RSVP is on the flyer. That's it. Unless anyone has questions.
Thank you. Move on to finance, Brent.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 7 resolutions. First is, purchasing a stop loss insurance policy through Highmark Life Insurance Company. It's for, period of June first through December 31st. There was a 50% premium increase from the last contract we had. Only about 10% increase was budgeted. The deductible is also increasing, from $175,000 to $200,000. As well as, premium increases, it's gonna be $218.69 per enrolled employee. Their premium does not increase though, it's just our share. So the total increase, for this policy is going to be approximately $113,000. And it's coming from fund balance. That was approved. Second is, Corporation Council and paralegal Tanya Taylor, authorized to attend the New York State Public Employer Labor Relations Association Annual Training Conference held July 8th through the 10th, 2024 in Saratoga Springs. Expenses to be paid pursuant to the general municipal law.
And there are horse races going on.
At least the Friday. Yeah. And the Corporation Council told us that the city is only responsible for 1/3 of his expenses. The city is not going to pay 1/3 and our kind of pay. That's approved. The next was Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership Program. This was the second plan to spend down this money after we brought down Gateway Project money, to shift this money to home redevelopment for the years 2021, 2022, 2023. This was all presented last month, first on the case. That was approved. Next is suspending the hiring freeze and hiring two positions in Jamestown Police Department. One was a retirement, one was a resignation. That is approved. Next is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Esteban Construction Company of Fredonia for street reconstruction 2025, Barrel Street from Benedict Street to Elm Street. Better work, replacement, for a total bid of $125,800.00. This project will be funded through CHIPS money. That was approved. The next was, the mayor and Mark Rutzer to purchase from Henderson Products Incorporated from Waterton, New York, for the UPP belt contract number PS 22170. Money in for a new dump body, plow frame, and salt spreader, for 2025 International HP 507 dump plow salt truck. For a total amount not to exceed $166,912.00. We have a resolution, purchase another dump truck from Regional International Corporation, Henrietta, New York, piggybacking on County's contract number 12114. CHIPS money, on 2025 International HP 507 Cabot chassis to replace dump plow salt spreader number 17 for a total amount not to exceed $146,944.00. That was approved. We got some good news, excuse me, on the first quarter sales tax. Came in at $1,999,686, which was $63,000 over the projection for the first quarter. So that's good news. The FRB is in the final stages of approval. State's budget. And Comptroller will be preparing 2 bond payments for us that will come as new business next week during our voting session. We'll not quite ready for today's meeting. And we'll be voting on it because the payments are due June 1st. All we have on finance.
Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. President, I do. Are those, truck pieces of parts in stock, or is there quite a like we've
No,
experienced?
so it's actually, it's two resolutions for the same truck. One is for the cabin chassis and one is for the dump body and, frame.
Right,
So the cabin chassis is, will probably take, or that will be delivered to the bodybuilder around December, January. And then it's another 6+ months before the bodybuilder will actually put the dump on. So it'll be 12 to 14 months.
whole year.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to reiterate something that Brent said to clear up any possible confusion that occurred before when it was printed in the paper. The $218.69 cost per employee for stop loss insurance is what the city has to cover. That is not a cost that is passed on to the employee. Before it was kind of vague in the newspaper, got some union members all worked up thinking that their insurance was going up without it being negotiated. So that $218.69 is what the city has to pay. That is not passed on to employees at this time.
Can I just make a clarification?
Yes,
The current premium is $162.86, and when we increased the premium insurance in January, that was included. This increase, which is 50% of that, there's no, it's, that increase, that 50% is what the city is absorbing for this 7-month period.
right, which is this amount, correct?
Well, that's the total premium.
Right. Okay,
So there's still, the employees still are covering a piece of this, they're just
Right.
not picking up their share of the incremental, the increased piece.
they're not paying the whole amount, I guess.
No, but their share is
Right.
not taking this whole
Correct.
thing into
Correct.
consideration.
I think the confusion before was that they had, that the employees had to pay the entire amount, and that it was changing that way, and that wasn't the case.
And you said that's just for 7 months, Erica?
Yes, it is 7 months.
So to help you, the logic for this is, we wanna get this back on the calendar year with the budget, so that
We
as
don't
it
have
stands
this
now in June, it's 6 months in,
Right.
and you're not putting in the increase, and the city is ending up making up the difference. So this way it'll fall in conjunction with their health insurance as part of their insurance package, all at the same calendar time.
Makes sense.
Any other questions? Now we'll move on to public safety. Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. President. We did have Ms. Hatfield speak, which she spoke again, so I don't think we need to go over that again. She obviously had the same concerns that she shared with all of us. As far as resolutions, we had one resolution, which was also on the finance agenda, and that was for the hiring of 2 clerk 2 positions in the police department, one as a result of a retirement and one as a result of a resignation. And as the chief said, that these are civil service positions, so he wants to get ahead of this and be able to hire. So that resolution passed. The second was the local law ordinance for the parking that we've discussed a couple times. And I'll go ahead and read this. The first section of it, 290-22, parking from April through October, between the first day of April and the 31st day of October, for monthly periods on all streets in the city. All cars shall be parked only on the odd number side of the street during odd number months, and only on the even number side of the street during even numbered months. The number of the month on the first day of said month at 10 a.m. determines the side of the street upon which parking is allowed. The second section, 290-23, parking from November, we've changed it from October to November through March, between the first day of November and the 31st day of March, for 24-hour periods on all streets in the city. All cars shall be parked only on the odd number side of the street on odd number days of the month, and only on even number side of the street on even number days of the month. The date of the day at 10 a.m. determines the side of the street upon which parking is allowed. So,
We didn't change that ten AM.
we did not. We had changed the month,
So the only change is
the month,
The month.
yeah. So, that passed. And then we had a number of informational reports. The first one was for a block party, hosted by Jeff Bloomquist on Blanchard Street from Windsor Street to Alton Place, and Beverly Place to Cary Place, the edge of Alton Place and Beverly Place, to be held on Saturday, July 26, 2025, from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. with a rain date of Sunday, July 27, 2025, from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. I think Mr. Bloomquist does that annually, and that passed. The next was a special event, Step Into Health, to be held on Saturday, May 17th, 2025, a 7-mile route linking Jamestown to Faulkner with the start-finish line at Jamestown Community College from 7 a.m. until 1 p.m., including setup and tear down. And the police are gonna be doing some, helping out with some traffic control for the runners. We do expect President Dulce to be running in the 7-mile
a
race.
run or a walk? No, I thought it was a walk.
We want you to run. So that passed.
It's kind of-
The third special event was Roll and Read, to be held on Friday, May 30th, 2025, at various points around downtown, from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., including 7 teardown. This is an annual event for children and reading, and that passed. Next one was a special event for Jamestown Farmers Market, to be held on Saturdays, June 7th, 2025, through November 22nd, 2025, on 3rd Street from Main Street to Cherry Street. On June 7th, 2025, the special Pride Market will extend up Main Street from 3rd to 4th Streets from 7:30 a.m. until 2 p.m., including setup and tear down, with the exception of June 7th, 2025, with the closure extended until 4 p.m. Note, the market will likely move inside at the end of October if weather necessitates. And I guess, do you guys have anything to add to that, or does anyone have any questions for them, or anything about the market or the event?
There's no change. Is that what it was last year?
The Pride is extending down 3rd all the way to Pine this year. Last year, I think it was just from 3rd to 4th, so it's making an L, and then the normal setup for the farmer's market makes it a T. And we are shifting to an hour earlier, so we'll be 9 to 1 instead of 10 to 2, with setup starting at 7:45.
And is there going to be food trucks there? Okay. I will refer to Ms. Surdick on the food trucks that are near downtown restaurants, because I know we're gonna get phone calls. Can you explain when we have special events?
So a special event food truck is covered under the event permit, so it's not the same rules that apply for a special event.
Okay. So they, in other words, you're saying as a result, because of the special event, they are allowed to be closer to,
Yeah, but
brick
they have
and
to
mortar
be within
restaurant.
that approved area of the event itself.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
yeah. So I know we get phone calls on that already,
Mhm.
from some of the restaurants, why is there a food truck out in front of the restaurant?
Yeah.
What's the limit?
How many feet is it?
150 feet from the front door of a restaurant.
Okay.
If it was not
Yeah.
a
Right,
special event
yep.
such as yours.
One of the, I'm Stephen Cobb, I'm with Pride, one of the food vendors that is a truck, we're considering a truck, is Slice of Home, that just opened, so
Great.
they're gonna come up a block and
Awesome.
run pizza from their store and sell pizza right there at the market.
Cool. heard it's good.
So that passed, and the next special event was, 2025 Wellness Fair to be held on Thursday, July 17th, 2025 at Allen Park near the splash pad from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m., including setup and tear down, and that passed. And then we had a late one come in from, Sheriff Quattrone and the, Baby Cafe, that's gonna take place at Jackson Taylor Park on, May 31st, 2025. Setup, time is 10:30 a.m., breakdown 4 p.m. Hours of operation 11 to 4 with estimated crowd size about 150 people. All the necessary paperwork was submitted. He also texted me the other day about it, and that passed.
It's a parade.
It's a collaboration between the sheriff's department and the Baby Cafe, the church. Was Catherine Harris, the driving force behind the campaign in Jamestown, along with a group of pastors and the Baby Cafe team, has been instrumental in its organization. The Baby Cafe focuses on providing support to marginalized communities, aiming to improve health outcomes by empowering families and offering professional and compassionate breastfeeding support. So it's kind of faith-based group, and Sheriff Quattrone is involved in this as well through law enforcement. So,
Jeff, Dan Stone called me right before the meeting today and also wanted to mention one last tie out with them before any communication. Last year, we had incidents with trucks getting stuck way in the field, and they also drove over the sidewalk that has sewer or water lines under it,
It's
so
a-
there's some
it's a culvert.
concern. Yeah,
The top of, that sidewalk is actually the top of a culvert,
so,
so to drive big heavy vehicles on it is a very bad idea.
okay,
so,
so should we rope off some areas, tape off some areas where people can't be driving, or?
They can't, no one should be driving along that sidewalk. And
so the sidewalk next to the basketball court,
Yeah.
where that empty field is right next to it,
The one that was over there.
behind the pavilion,
Yeah.
Yes,
there should be no trucks parking, nothing driving up that sidewalk.
Goes to the river.
Or close to the river walk.
okay, so how do you wanna deal with that?
Just put it in their
I
permit.
can put it in the
Their
approval
approval.
letter. Dan also mentioned today that he's going to have an employee there, so he'll be billing the organization for the employees.
Okay,
So there'll be somebody there to make sure
that no one's driving.
that that's
Excellent.
happening.
Yeah.
But
Excellent,
it'll be in their approval letter, so it'll be
Okay.
in writing.
okay,
Yep,
excellent.
we can do that.
Yeah, I believe it was a garbage truck that.
Two of them.
Oh,
A garbage truck and
it
then
was there
someone
for-
got
It was
stuck,
there for a while, they couldn't even move it, I think it
Yeah.
was there for,
and then someone got stuck pulling it out.
yeah.
Not good. Okay. And that's everything we have.
Any questions? If not, we'll move on to Public Works, Randy.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had 3 resolutions that were covered in finance also, and that's the Barrow Street project, which is gonna be partial reconstruction, and the 2 components of the salt truck, combination plow truck that's coming. And that, like we said earlier, not gonna be here till probably middle or end of next winter. So typically, these companies are very busy, and they do take quite a bit of time normally, so it's really right on par. And we approve those resolutions. The other thing was that the director has given us a list of the 2025 DPW construction projects that are gonna be happening in the city, and it's quite lengthy, and so we did go over some of that briefly, and we'll be talking about it more, but they're gonna be doing a lot of curb repair and a lot of sealing and paving, so.
We have that list.
I can send it out.
Will be-
The committee has it as of now, but yeah.
Okay, and then also,
It was just finalized at the end of last week.
Okay.
so we'll-
Yeah.
I'll
and
get-
that'll be in the paper eventually.
We'll post it too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
once it goes, that's.
Yeah, Yeah, that sounds good, so we went through that a little bit. And then, the bigger thing is that we talked about, which has been in the media, is the, so-called emergency repair of, 394 Second Street. And that is gonna be, they're gonna mill and pave quite a bit of it in the driving lanes only. And there will be some spots in the eastbound lane that will not be totally done, but the westbound lane will be. And who's gonna do it? The city forces are gonna do the paving and the cleaning up of the millings, and the state DOT will be working in conjunction. They will be purchasing the blacktop and the tack coat. And like I say, it's gonna be approximately on 6/9, and so there'll be, they don't expect to do a detour, but, anybody traveling down there will endure that work that's gonna be done for a little while anyway, but it'll go pretty fast, and it's gonna be a lot of, relief to many people that, the mayor's office and others have been working on getting this done, because that project really wasn't gonna get paved until the summer of 26. And it's quite a stretch, and most of us thought that it could not make it. In fact, almost everybody thought it could make it that length of time. So, more on that as needed. We'll keep you abreast later. And that's all we had.
I just had a quick question. Councilman Paterniti brought it up at Public Safety about the guide rail up at Purcell. School is going to be ending here shortly. I know there was meetings about it, discussions, the drastic increase in cost on it, and remove sidewalks and everything else. And I think Councilman Paterniti, I don't speak for him, but he wanted to know what the status of that was, and I'd like to see it done by fall of this year when the inclement weather starts to come again.
So in the last week, we've gotten prices back for, the concrete work. And we put a bid out to do the guide rail, and we got no bids back to do the guide rail. Probably because it's such a small section, we couldn't get anybody, so we reached out to the county. They will sometimes do that work. We've not heard back yet if they're able to do that for us. We'll, make a plan. If they can't help us, we'll try and figure out another solution. But our plan has been to not start that project until school is out, just because it'll be a disturbance in that intersection.
Are we tying in, there was a discussion earlier that we were gonna reach out to the public school system to maybe put half the bill?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Nothing's changed with that
No,
then?
no.
Just the bill went up?
The conversations that I've had with the superintendent, he's always been supportive of working with the city on projects. He didn't throw the number out half to me, half, but he did say to me that he's always welcome to work with us and see what he would do. And I know the mayor's had some productive conversations with him and Mark, and so hopefully we can get this done before the winter starts again.
Anything else? Is there any other business before we get to the mayor's report? Go ahead.
I have nothing really for open session, however, I do have one quick item for executive session regarding contractual, and I only need Elliot and Crystal to stay, 5 minutes max, probably, information only.
You have a motion to go into executive session? So moved. All in favor? Aye.